What's up? I'm the Nature Hacker, and this is your world. So what I want to talk about today was preparation for a pandemic. Lisa Haven just released a video talking about how the Canadian government is warning funeral homes to get ready for mass graves. Well, maybe not mass graves, but mass, what do you call it? Mass death and mass, anyway, just a dumb word I was looking for. But anyway, so mass demand for graves. So anyway, that's interesting. Maybe they're getting ready to release a pandemic. We know the CDC creates pandemic viruses. They genetically engineer and modify viruses and diseases so that they can kill off large amounts of the population. So it looks like they're getting ready to release one of these pandemics. Maybe they, are creating the next H1N1 variant. Maybe they're creating a super bug with tetanus and some other things to create a zombie virus. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you is how to cure and prevent any type of pandemic, because any type of pandemic is going to be a virus. I guess the bubonic plague was a bacteria, but it wasn't really because, well, I still think it was a virus, but even if it was a bacteria, we can look up what would kill that bacteria really easily. But regardless, every pandemic is going to be a virus. Anything that causes a fever is going to be a virus. That's just the way it works, because the way a fever is created is when the E. coli in our intestines are rapidly killed off, creating what's known as a Herxheimer reaction. As the bacteria die off, they release endotoxins, which activates the innate immune system and increases the body temperature. So any kind of fever, any kind of disease or sickness that causes a fever is a virus, because the virus is what kills off those gram-negative E. coli bacteria, causing the fever and causing the virus to be able to spread throughout the body. So that's how these viruses infect, is they infect through the gut. They always infect through the gut. They can be, they can infect you through the blood, but what I believe happens is that it has to circulate to the gut in order for it to set up shop and to really get a crazy infection going. Because, I mean, all of the incubation times for these viruses are quite long, so it coincides with the amount of time it would take for it to get established in the gut. So even things that are inhaled and stuff that cause these viruses, that's actually, it's still infecting the gut. As things get stuck inside the mucus here, it drips down into the gut, infects the gut bacteria, and that's how the virus starts. So now that we know that, we know how to cure and prevent any virus pandemic. And the way you do that is with activated charcoal. Activated charcoal competes with the gram-negative bacteria to adhere to the viruses. The viruses are going to get stuck, and not only the virus is going to get stuck on activated charcoal, but even more importantly, the gram-negative bacteria, dead pieces. When the virus explodes the bacteria and those dead pieces of bacteria are floating around, the virus typically uses those dead pieces to enter the bloodstream and to circulate through the body. That's called LPS, lipopolysaccharides, from the bacteria that the viruses ride on. That's proven fact. You can Google that. Now, what happens is the activated charcoal binds up those lipopolysaccharides. So instead of traveling through the body, distributing the virus around, those will get stuck to the activated charcoal and be excreted in the bowel movements. So the question arises, how do we make this activated charcoal in an emergency situation with almost nothing? And I will tell you that no matter who you are or where you are, you can make activated charcoal, or at very least, charcoal. And charcoal is roughly 1/4 as good as activated charcoal. So, if you're taking a tablespoon of regular charcoal every day, safe charcoal, I'm going to teach you how to make safe charcoal. If you're taking a tablespoon of that every day, you don't have to worry about any pandemic. And you don't have to do that right away. But, in the case of some type of pandemic, you start making charcoal and taking it every day, you are going to be 100% safe from that pandemic. How do we go about making this charcoal? Well, the safest and easiest thing to do is to take food waste, food scraps, things like banana peels, things like, stems from fruits and, old vegetables, things like that. And, instead of composting it, instead of throwing it away, you actually let it dry out, and then you burn it. You don't completely burn it. So you have to make charcoal. You're not trying to make ash, okay? Charcoal is carbon. Ash, the carbon is burned off. So let's say you have some pieces of charcoal. If you burn charcoal, it's going to turn into ash, and you don't want the ash, okay? You want the charcoal, the carbon itself. So the way you do that is you start it burning, you get it a little going, burning and stuff, then you snuff the flame out. You can either douse it with water, you can cover it with some type of cover, metal cover or clay or something to snuff the flame out. And then you have black charcoal. Now, if you're making it out of some type of food or food scraps or food waste, you're going to be 100% safe there to just powder that charcoal up and take it. Maybe a tablespoon will definitely be enough to prevent or start treating any virus infection. But let's say you're using something like hardwood. Another thing I want to mention is never, ever, ever use pine needles, pine, softwoods, things like that, especially pine, because that's high in cadmium. And I know from firsthand experience, because I have done this, I have done pine needles and pine cones and things like that, and I did get cadmium toxicity. Now, how did I know I got cadmium toxicity? Because almost instantly I started getting blood clot sensations where it just felt like pains in my extremities. The ends of my extremities pain, like the blood is getting stuck. So I look up and see, what could be causing that. One of the things is cadmium toxicity, and then I look up and see that pine is actually very high in cadmium. So as I took that, charcoal made from pine, I got cadmium toxicity. So I figured out how to chelate that. I believe it was like cysteine or something, which I have all sorts of things like that to be able to counter any kind of toxin. But so I took something that chelates cadmium. I believe it was cysteine. I'm sure you can look up cadmium chelation or something, natural cadmium chelation, or find out what proteins bind to cadmium. That's usually a good way, or what amino acids bind to cadmium. That's usually a good way to figure out what's good at chelating it. But anyway, so you want to stay away from pine, definitely, and softwoods. You want to use hardwoods or food scrap waste. If you use hardwoods, again, that's pretty safe. I don't think there's much heavy metals in hardwoods. So you can just do a charcoal type thing, and you can powder that up and take that in water, a tablespoon a day, and you should be fine. But if you want to make it even better, if you want to go for activated, one step above charcoal powder is acid wash charcoal powder. So what you do is you take that black charcoal powder and you put some acid in it, whether that's vinegar, kind of wimpy, but something like phosphoric acid is what I like to use and what the industry likes to use. So I use phosphoric acid. You just kind of put that charcoal in phosphoric acid, food grade phosphoric acid, try to dissolve out any heavy metals or just minerals in general from the charcoal. You're trying to dissolve out the ash. Okay, the ash is all the minerals. The black is the carbon. So you want to dissolve the ash out of the carbon. So you want to get as much ash out as you can, and you can use phosphoric acid to do that. Elevate temperatures would help even more. And what is one step above that is actually activating it, and the way you do that is with oxidizing conditions. So if you mix phosphoric acid with some food grade phosphoric acid with some food grade sodium or potassium nitrate, not nitrite. Nitrite is dangerous. Sodium or potassium nitrate in the phosphoric acid with your charcoal powder, that is actually going to activate that charcoal, and it's going to etch the charcoal and create higher surface area, and you can increase the surface area by about 4 times if you're lucky. I bet acid washing probably increases it by about 2 times. So just see what you can do. Obviously nitric acid would be even better than the nitrate, and phosphoric acid, but nitric acid's kind of prohibitively expensive to use in that way. So food grade phosphoric acid is pretty cheap, so it's like $50 a gallon or something shipped. So and potassium nitrate food grade is very, very cheap, so that is like a ghetto. Mixing phosphoric acid and potassium nitrate is like making a ghetto nitric acid. So anyway, that is how to make activated charcoal. When you're doing that, you do it on a stove or something to heat it up. You don't want to be doing that in metal, because that's going to dissolve metal. You're going to want glass pots or beakers or something like that to do this type of acid washing. So I guess the best thing to do is just save and dry food scraps and use that to flame that and snuff the flame out, and you have charcoal. That's definitely going to be the easiest way to go about it. But if you want to get more technical, if you want to get more into making actual activated charcoal, you can use those methods I said. So that will definitely save you from any pandemic. If you want to prevent pandemic type viruses, or this type of advice also just works for the common flu and even colds. Usually, colds are sometimes just nasal completely, so you can do a neti pot with some activated charcoal if you want. Obviously mix in water, but let's see, what else is I going to say? Oh, but if you actually want to kill that bacteria, so let's say you want to make yourself immune, and you don't want to have to be, just constantly taking activated charcoal. You want to make yourself immune to viruses. What you do is you take something called food grade diatomaceous earth. You mix that in with water. That will go, and it kills off all of those gram-negative bacteria that can be infected with virus. So if you kill off all of those bacteria that are in your intestines, then you're not susceptible to viruses anymore. You'll never get the flu. If you are taking food grade diatomaceous earth, another thing is you don't want to take it with food. You never want food grade diatomaceous earth with food or vinegar or any type of acidic juice. You want it to be, if anything, with some potassium bicarbonate to neutralize any acid that the diatomaceous earth comes in contact with, because diatomaceous earth does have a little bit of aluminum in it, and you don't want acids to dissolve the aluminum out of food grade diatomaceous earth. Another thing you could do is you could acid wash the food grade diatomaceous earth to remove all aluminum from the diatomaceous earth before using it. And I want to look into how to, obviously the same as using phosphoric acid to wash the diatomaceous earth with before you use it. But in general, just keep it alkaline so that the aluminum in the diatomaceous earth is not dissolving, creating brain fog and eventually Alzheimer's. Because I did notice that I took diatomaceous earth, a lot of it with acid, and I took that together and it dissolved the aluminum out. I started getting brain fog. I never get brain fog, so I knew that it was probably from the aluminum. What I did to solve that was take potassium citrate, because citrate/citric acid actually chelates aluminum and removes it from the body and the brain. So that's how I cured my brain fog in that regard. But anyway, the diatomaceous earth, it will keep that gram-negative bacteria killed off, so you'll no longer be susceptible to any viruses or pandemics or epidemics or anything like that. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm the Nature Hacker. Let's do work.